What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to part 3 of the 2023 End of the Year Awards for AEW, the best and the worst of what All Elite Wrestling has presented to us this year, at least according to December 13th when we were recording this. Check out parts 1 and 2 prior to this for the Technical Skills Awards and the Writing Awards. If you're, of course, listening to us on the audio-only stream, then you had already listened to that. But if you are on YouTube, click on those videos, and then you will have more context of the things that we're going to reference here, and obviously the full breakdown of the awards and stuff. I am your host, as always. If you don't know, Tony Mango, joined as always by Callum Wiggins.
Hello there.
And Robert DeFelice.
Hello.
And just another quick reminder, we want to know what you have to say about our picks as well as what your picks are, so drop your thoughts in the comments section below. Make sure you keep the discussion going. Also, click on the like button. Click on the subscribe button if you are over there on YouTube. If you're not, I don't know where you're going to find that, just floating in the ether. But there's the join button over there. Same thing as Patreon, all those different tiers, Redbubble and TeePublic, where you can pick up the merchandise. And also go ahead and vote on the fan feedback survey for the way for you to tell us what we can improve on and what you really liked from Smark Out Moment this year. Forgot to plug that in the last one. And, kind of keep that perception going and all. We're going to keep these awards going and round out the AEW stuff with the Performer Awards block, which is made up of about 9 or so categories, best and worst of each one of those. Pretty self-explanatory, less to explain this time around. And I think we should just kind of get started with the best and the worst managers or valets or whatever you would want to call somebody who accompanies somebody to the ring, and maybe they're a mouthpiece for somebody, any along that spectrum. Now, AEW does not have authority figures in the way that WWE has, like Nick Aldis and all, but somebody like a Stokely Hathaway, you can even kind of constitute that. He was a manager at one point for this year, so I have him down on the list too, but if you want to incorporate him as like manager-esque when it comes to his role in Ring of Honor, then you can kind of lump that in too or whatever. But I tend to focus a little bit more on pure manager, valet types and all. So this is people like, CJ Perry. This is Jose, the assistant, and, Smart Mark Sterling, all these different types. I don't know. You might be able to tell me one way or another. Did we see Jake Roberts this year? I don't remember him showing up, actually. I think he had been out.
Because you're not watching Collision. He was literally just on TV like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, me skipping out on Collision is, blind spot with that. Definitely a blind spot on the Ring of Honor side of things. So, there's going to be some people that are missing out on there. But yeah, like Alex Abrahantes, you got Brandon Cutler, technically classifies for this. This is kind of a valet for the Young Bucks. So there is a wide variety here, including even, I think Vicky Guerrero might have technically been this year before she got released.
Hold on, I need to verify this. Because if she is, then that's my worst.
Oh, Vicky counts.
Vicky counts for this year?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that she was at the beginning of the year.
She wasn't fired. She wasn't let go
till mid-year. What an awful end to what had been like a nice little story for Vicky, the tragic passing of Eddie. She becomes a great character. What? Fucking her whole AEW run sucked, but that's besides the point. This year she was kind of exposed as a crappy person, and boo, go away, go away.
I had her down as my worst, but I also had written down, and I couldn't give him the worst because I really don't know anything about him, but I was like, who the hell's JT Davidson?
The Savage Sauce Man?
The Iron Savage guy? He goes by Savage Sausage Man? Is that what you said?
Well, I don't know. Is he the guy that's with them now, or was he the guy that
he was with them?
Yeah. I don't know much about him, but he must not have been great because he just sort of disappeared. The guy they have now is kind of funny.
Who's with him now?
You know his name off the top of your head, Callum?
No. not particularly.
I know that they're fun, and the whole Savage Sauce thing, the whole eating the ass thing is everything the Iron Savages have done is great.
What am I missing out on, Ring of Honor? What's happening over there?
This is on AEW, buddy. Like, you're just not watching the shows.
Clearly, I'm skipping that segment. Good lord.
Yeah, hold on. I'll Google who they're with now. They really found their characters this year, and this is an example of when people find comedic characters that work, as opposed to, they were just Bear Bronson and Bear Boulder, and that wasn't as great. Okay, they're with Jack Jameson now. Jack Jameson. He's funny.
His name's my name too. Or is that not the song?
That's a different guy. Yeah, I like him. He's good. He's not going to be my best or anything, but shout out to him.
So what other who you guys have worse? Is it all Vicky Guerrero?
It's Vicky Guerrero.
Okay, so we got a 3 for going. Yeah.
The only other one I had down for worst was Harley Cameron. Like,
he's annoying on purpose, though. I kind of like Harley Cameron, what she was doing.
And I do have to at least appreciate Harley Cameron for the start, for being the catalyst for the he's gay chant.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
He's gay. That's great.
We're going to have to, at the beginning of the year, we go through and have like an assessment of the roster that I'm missing out on, because this, I tried to do it as best I could, but like no website out there has the full breakdown of the tag teams, the roster, who's actually there, because it's like, the contract wise, it's up in the air for the performers that are on the wrestling side. That's already confusing enough. But when you start factoring in like the managers and valets and stuff, people just really lose track of that. So
here's a nice little runner-up for worst manager. It counts Ric Flair. Any chance I can say fuck Ric Flair at this stage in the game, I gotta say it.
That's worth at least an honorable mention. Yeah.
And still give Vicky worse.
Yeah, I'm still gonna give Vicky worse.
Just being on screen, because at least Flair took a bump and on a thing. So he sucks as well, but still.
Christian got to kick him in the nuts or whatever. But
yeah. And he's there for a specific reason, for a guy that's a legend, instead of Vicky just kind of hanging around. Now, on the best side of things, not going to give it to Prince Nana, but a big shout out to him. Very close. Anybody go with him?
Yep. Oh, it's Prince Nana.
He's got the dance. He's, running the Mogul Embassy.
He's such a great juxtaposition of Swerve, because Swerve is just so stone-faced and just evil and demented, and Prince Nana's there just doing the goofy dancing in the background. He's but it's beyond just what he does with Swerve. It's what he does with the whole Mogul Embassy. He's a big part of, Brian Cage took a huge step up for me. I'm not going to talk about him later in terms of some of the improvements, but a big part of that is just having Nana as a mouthpiece for these guys. And yeah, he's a great promo as well.
I do enjoy him just bringing joy to anything he does with the "We're in the Money" singing, and Nana he's absolutely up there. He's tremendous. He's not going to be my guy, because I think I'm going to go with Stokely as both the mouthpiece for all of ROH and being the bright spot in the weird deletion stuff that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I'm going to go Don Callis. He is instrumental for a lot of the positives of that whole Elite feud. He is the mouthpiece for Konosuke Takeshita. I even like how whenever he had came out and it was just that drone music, to just kind of be like, oh my God, this guy. And when they have him on commentary and they tell the story about all the other people like Tony Schiavone and JR and all being just this fucker is gonna be coming on commentary. I like Don Callis more. In this year AEW, I've liked Don Callis more than anything else that I've ever seen him do in the entire history of his career. Granted, that's not too much, because to me, I'm way more familiar with him as the Jackal, but like Don Callis to me, like this is like, okay, this is good. I'm digging this a lot. So Don Callis gets my my best.
And similarly to how I had said in the last section that you wouldn't believe that the unfortunate passing of Luke Perry would lead to Christian Cage's best run, you would never guess that, like, oh, one day some guy's going to start a promotion and it's going to allow for Don Callis to become the most hated manager in wrestling after 25 years or something when he was the Jackal. And same thing, who would have guessed that Tully Blanchard just randomly bailing on Ring of Honor would lead to Prince Nana being appreciated for like the first time on a global scale. Little things like that are the most fun to me in AEW.
Shout out to Tully Blanchard being one of the worst options, I guess, for this year.
Not for this year. He ditched last year. But
that was still technically last year?
No, it was like midway last year, yeah.
I lost track of when he had left. Shout out to Arn Anderson, though.
that considering I had to remind you in the last section that was a thing.
Right, yeah. The hell, Arn Anderson.
He'll be back in Cody's corner in WWE soon enough.
Do you guys think that Arn's going to pop up in WWE for that?
If he does,
I think Brock's going to pop up in WWE as well, so I wouldn't be surprised in that regard.
Really? I can't imagine them signing him.
I couldn't imagine them signing Brian Pillman Jr., but here we are.
I always thought that Brian Pillman Jr. had more of an upside than Brock Anderson.
I think Anderson's got an upside. I would be surprised they used Arn on TV only because Arn was employed by them for like 20 years and they didn't use him on TV.
Maybe there's going to be an Alicia Fox segment and he can pop back up.
I'm kind of hoping that, like, in a sort of way that Cody's a bit of a sleeper agent and he's just bringing all of his boys over to WWE.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'll leave. Yeah, and then he'll leave.
He's like his long form con is like Dr. Doom levels of like thinking 8 steps ahead. He's like, I'm going to leave WWE. I'm going to create another promotion. I'm going to leave that promotion and bring everybody back over and take over WWE.
Fairness, that's probably the biggest tribute he could give to his father.
True.
Who, you know, would do the exact same thing and eventually run NXT.
Yeah. Wrestling has more than one royal family. That's for sure. It also has more than one commentator in AEW. We've got a variety to pick from here for the best and the worst, and I don't think I'm going to be surprising anybody here when I say the worst. It's Jim Ross.
Yep. It's too long now. It's gone on too long.
It's such a shame, isn't it, to say that?
Yeah, it's like I don't want to say like he's tarnished his legacy because I think that I don't think with a legacy of JR's stature you can really tarnish it. You can tarnish it by being a shitty human being, which he's not.
Yeah, well,
but he's clearly like past his peak as a commentator. I'd say that there were a couple of other options, like Paul White has done commentary this year, and I've never been a big fan of Big Show as a commentator.
Yeah,
and the one that's probably the most disappointing to me, Kevin Kelly.
That's right. Yeah,
I think he's finding his feet now a little bit, but he's clearly been usurped as the main voice of Collision by Tony Schiavone,
which is okay.
And so I think that he hopefully it like picks up again next year. But like as a guy who was like the top commentator for New Japan for years and years and years, it's been a little bit a bit of a wake up call to see that he's not kind of found his footing in Collision yet. So, but yeah, Jim Ross is definitely the worst for me.
So, question: does this encompass just the people on the headset, or does this encompass backstage interviewers and things of that nature as well?
I look at this as pure commentators because the backstage interviewers are pretty much like Renee and Lexi and, you know.
Second question. Before I say Jim Ross, Mark Henry get on the headset at all this year? Because I don't want to dogpile on poor Jim. Because actually, when Jim is like into something, it's weird how it switches. When he was like calling the CM Punk stuff, he'd get super animated and into it. But barring any like Mark Henry appearance on the headset, I do have to say it's Jim Ross. It's unfortunate too, just because he's so like he's the legend. He is the guy you think of when you think of this, and it's just sad to see it's becoming like, okay, Grandpa, thanks for coming. You know, it's sad. And like Callum said, he's not a shitty person like Ric Flair, so it's more sad than it is with Ric Flair because JR's still a pretty good guy.
So technically speaking, for anybody that does obviously listen in another language, there are people that are like the German language commentators and all that stuff. I couldn't tell you anything about Gunther Zapf or Alvaro Riojas. Like I don't listen to them, so I don't know. But this does count technically, even like the Ring of Honor people, like Ian Riccaboni, Caprice Coleman. I'm not a big fan of Caprice on the commentary team. But then on the positive side of things, we do have, I'm double checking now about Mark Henry, by the way, and it doesn't look like he had done commentary this year. I think he mostly is just like coach type interviewer, talent scout.
Sure.
But on the positive side of things, I still really dig when Taz does like his stupid, just like, oh, that's Taz, kind of thing. That's a fun duo when they just goof off. I don't know who I would go with 100%, but I think it's almost kind of a tie to me between Excalibur and Tony Schiavone.
I would throw in a nice little shout out to Ian Riccaboni. I would throw in a nice little shout out to Nigel McGuinness, but I think Excalibur and Schiavone have really kind of led the pack. And I'm going to go Tony Schiavone because I'm going to say that him returning to mainstream wrestling has been one of my favorite overall benefits of AEW. He's finding his footing again as like the main play-by-play on Collision because he's sort of like the babyface color guy on Wednesdays. And he's really finding himself again on Collision, and I love Tony Schiavone. I think he's one of the best to ever do it. I would say he's the best.
I would go in a pretty like significant landslide, at least for my personal taste, that Nigel McGuinness is the best.
I knew it was going to be that.
I figured that's what.
He's such a perfect heel commentator, and it's pretty much fundamentally down to the fact that he hates Bryan Danielson.
Yep.
And all of the stuff that all of his interactions have something to do with Bryan Danielson. It feels like I desperately hope we get that match at some point in 2024 between like those two, because I think it'd just be so much fun
for Wembley.
I hope so.
Yeah, but yeah, I just think that overall he's just like he's got a really dry wit about him. Like he's not over the top comedic, but like he's funny still. So it's not overbearing. There's obviously other great commentators. I have the other ones like runners up with like Excalibur, Taz, and Ian Riccaboni. I'm very much in the like Tony Schiavone's definitely more on the lower end for me than the upper end. So there's no chance of me getting it for him because if a guy can't seem to tell between a what was the move that he fucked up early? There was a like commentary thing where he called something I think he called something like a destroyer when it was just like a DDT or something.
Mm.
Oh yeah, it was a Death Valley driver that he called a destroyer instead. It's like he's long in the tooth. He's totally fine as the like hosting of like interview segments and more segments in the ring and contract signings. I just think that he's like again part of the old guard of commentators, which is still nice to have around, but I'd rather see like the new blood coming through, which is Excalibur and Riccaboni. Is like they're the two people that I want to see as the main voices of AEW moving forward.
Oh, Ian Riccaboni, as soon as he comes to grips with it as the main voice of Dynamite or Collision, needs to happen. I think he's just got this weird loyalty to ROH on top of a genuine like love of a limited schedule. But if he ever makes that jump, absolutely, he's one of the best to come down in many years. Now there's not a lot of youthful commentators, and he's got all the ability in the world. I'm also gonna say shout out to Lexi Nair for her amazing work with Athena. It's more in character based as opposed to broadcasting, but she added an element to that package that I would have never guessed. She's really talented.
So I think I'm officially going to go with Excalibur as my pick if I have to split the tie. Excalibur's the anchor.
I'm going to stick with Shivani.
And then we got Nigel over on Callum's side. So let's start getting into the wrestlers. Best and the worst newcomer of the year. And there is a wide variety of people that are brand new to the AEW/ROH roster from this year. Again, it's a kind of confusing setup where you never really know exactly when somebody is signed unless they put that All Elite graphic up. But then sometimes people have an appearance on the roster page and it's like, oh, okay, so I guess they're signed, but they didn't get the All Elite graphic. Sometimes people wrestle every friggin' week and they don't get the graphic or a spot on the website. Sometimes they're a part of the ROH roster and the AEW one. Sometimes it's one or the other. Sometimes it seems like they just pop up a few times and they are on the thing. Like Paige Van Zandt's still listed on the roster page. And it's like, she's done nothing and God knows how long. So take it with a grain of salt that some people are brand new. Some people have been signed for a while and they only put out the graphic this year, or it seems like they're brand new. It's very confusing, but I'm going to have to say for my worst that I can track at the very least, based off of like win-loss records and just overall how quickly everything dissipated, Taya Valkyrie. She came in as like, wow, she could be Jade Cargill. And then just nosedived.
Sadly, you're right on that. And I'm looking to see if anyone else.
So for record, these are the people that I was able to track as like pretty new. Technically, I guess Action Andretti, maybe not. I don't know.
He debuted at the end of.
He debuted last year.
December, yeah. So
yeah, it's kind of like a holdover. Adam Copeland, Jay White, Komandar, Kota Ibushi, Aussie Open. So Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher, Mark Briscoe, Nick Wayne, Roderick Strong. You can kind of classify Will Ospreay. I am looking at that more as like, I guess technically he's a newcomer next year. Mariah May, Megan Bain is supposedly signed, but
he is signed, but haven't.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah.
And Taya. Those are the only ones that I was able to like track really. Obviously, I might be missing some people.
Yeah, I don't want to dogpile on Taya, but as I look at the names, it has to be because there's not a lot of positives there, unfortunately. It does suck. I know that I've said in the past, I think she can headline Mania in a women's match. I think she had that ability, or at least she did when she left Impact. So, it's been overall disappointing to see what she hasn't done in AEW.
Yeah, definitely have Tyler listed as one of the worst ones, and got Harley Cameron there as well as a potential one.
Hold on, can I change my answer? Ric fucking Flair.
Oh God, I guess I forgot Ric Flair.
Ric Flair. Okay, Taya Valkyrie didn't live up to her potential. Fine, happens. Ric Flair being signed to this company had discussions of, what is AEW even doing, and yada yada. Ric Flair, boo.
Yes, I'm one to have listed down. But as much as I like them, Aussie Open having a great time in AEW so far. So just like it's been a slow start for them. The Righteous coming in. I'm pretty sure they started earlier this year, build up to what their stuff they were doing on Ring of Honor with the whole Dark Order and Stu Grayson thing. They had that fun match at Death Before Dishonor, but yeah, their stuff on the actual AEW show has been pretty bad. And then I feel like defying gravity a little bit, because Gravity is just, I just think he's not ready for TV. So I don't really want to. I don't want to bury on him too much. Like realistically, Rob's right. Ric Flair is the worst newcomer because he shouldn't be in this company. But yeah, from an actual just pure who's in the ring standpoint, I probably would go Gravity. But yeah, Ric Flair's just an awful human being.
Do it, Tony. Do it.
Yeah. It's hard to argue against this. I think we might need to make that a 3 for, because Taya Valkyrie, she still gives more. Yeah. That's a switch over to, though, for the best newcomer of the year. I think we're going to go Adam Copeland.
I am as well. I won't drag this one out too long. He's my favorite wrestler of all time. He is in AEW. He feels inspired. I don't know how much I'm going to talk about Edge and the WWE side of things, but that run, especially the end of it, sucked. Man, was that disappointing. So to see him try to get around to righting some wrongs feels good. I'm going to say Adam Copeland.
Adam Copeland's definitely a potential one. I've enjoyed both Commander and El Hijo del Vikingo being part of their AEW stuff. I know at least Vikingo's not officially signed, so but he's been doing some cool stuff, and he made his actual debut on Dynamite this year. So, and then Jay White has been great. And as much as I would like to give it to Will Ospreay, I can't, because he's not actually well. Because if you're going with the argument that he had matches this year, he technically had matches last year as well. So
right,
he hasn't done anything officially as a signed member of the AEW roster yet. But I'm going Mark Briscoe.
Not a bad choice.
Yeah.
I think that obviously the circumstances in which it came about are ones that we wish didn't have to be the case. But I think as much as like Poison, the opportunity came in terms of like how it came about, he's taken it with both hands, and I think he's been such a breath of fresh air on this roster. He's like, there's no one like Mark Briscoe on TV, and just from fun comedy segments to suffering that unfortunate injury and then coming back and being now like a fun part of the Continental Classic, it's I think he's making his brother proud, I'd say.
I'm gonna just hop on my soapbox for 2 seconds. It is ridiculous that Tony Khan had to specify in 2022 that the Briscoes were signed to ROH. And it is ridiculous that tragedy had to befell the family in order for Mark Briscoe to get on AEW TV. And it's ridiculous that somebody should have to pass away for you to forgive their past transgressions.
I agree with this soapbox.
Thank you.
I endorse this. Okay, let's go to the best and the worst tag team / stable / faction / trio. They all kind of work in the same thing. And I've said this already, so I'm not going to beleaguer the same points. My worst is Matt Hardy's random collection of misfits. Take your pick of whatever random Hardy Family Office type stuff they had at the beginning of the year and all that, the firm stuff and all. Just any of that was a complete and utter failure.
I'm going to go ahead and hop on and say the firm. The firm started out as something and it devolved into something completely different. Nobody even remembers the fact that guys like Lee Moriarty were in that. Unfortunate, but yeah, that really screwed over a couple of people. Callum, can I guess yours, Callum?
If you want.
Is it the TNA Trio?
No, it's not the TNA Trio.
Oh, nice.
Are you gonna go that like kind of more like the high potential, which upsets me most, and go with like Jericho Appreciation Society?
They're on my list of one of the worst ones, but they're not my final pick. And also the TNA thing is it's a TNA Quattro, because I still count Andre Dutt as part of that as well.
Fair.
Simon Singh and all that, yeah.
Yeah. Other ones I had down as like potential ones were the Outcasts,
Yep.
the Righteous, and not even such the Hardy with the firm stuff, but the Hardy Boys in general. But I've already mentioned them before. The worst tag team stable was QTV.
QTV is on my potential list, as well as the Factory, technically.
Is that this year too?
Yeah. At the beginning of the year, they had Aaron Solo, Anthony Ogogo, Cole Carter, Nick Camarado, and QT Marshall still teaming up.
That's crazy.
Hey,
Proud and Powerful was a team this year.
Technically,
and they were involved in one great match, and so
they were a huge part of one great match, and then suddenly they weren't.
Oh, you know what else was a team this year? The Trust Busters. Remember that?
That didn't work out so well for people.
The Baddies was a team this year. They all disappeared, and once Jade Cargill left, it was just like, yeah, never mind. Didn't get much out of CMFTR, that's for sure.
What we got was great.
I went through. I tried to already do my like beginning of the year roster things, and one of the pages is the tag teams and stables list and all. And I had seen that like the Wingmen no longer really use Cesar Bononi.
Yeah,
it's just
Nemeth
and Avalon.
Peter. Yeah,
and like JD Drake's like firmly just been in the Workhorsemen with Anthony Henry for however many months. So it's like a lot of things change. Some things stay the same. Any other worst nominees you guys got in mind?
The Mogul Affiliates pre their Embassy merger.
Oh God, yeah. Oof. The Trench and Parker Boudreaux and all that.
It's Trench. PTV sucked, but we already kind of touched on that.
Yeah, I'm looking through the list right now, and just like, yeah, there's people that are disappointing and stuff. Like the Butcher and the Blade just never really do anything, and now they don't even have the bunny anymore.
The bunny, I hate that.
Yeah, so it's but it's not like that's like the worst thing ever, or whatever. On the best side of things, though, I am leaning more towards the Blackpool Combat Club than anybody else.
Before I make that a twofer, I want to touch on positives this year. FTR was great the early portion of the year. The Kingdom have really come on strong with their Roderick Strong affiliation. I enjoy their the Cole Carter, Griff Garrison, and Hot Mom Maria group in Ring of Honor. I think that's a lot of fun. I think Athena and Billy Starks were a lot of fun. The Elite, while they were together, was great. Best Friends were kind of waiting on me this year. Blackpool Combat Club is the best thing in wrestling. That's my statement.
Yeah, again, there's a lot of good options. I think the Mogul Embassy did very well this year. House of Black were trio champions for the majority of the year. Obviously, the Acclaimed have done very well still. Again, maybe your mileage and them may vary, but I still think they've had a successful year. I do think that Blackpool Combat Club is one of the best things in wrestling that I've seen in years and years. So it's like it's hard to go against them. But I'm going to go Bullet Club Gold.
They're really fucking good, and
they're so much fun. It's revived the Guns after obviously winning the tag titles earlier this year, but then people thinking, oh, it's way too soon, and why are these guys champions? And now they feel part of the collective again. They feel more charismatic and whole than they've ever had beforehand. Like Juice Robinson is such a fantastic promo and a fantastic character and just so over the top. And then having Jay White as the catalyst and the head of that entire group is, I think it's like an excellent collective. And the thing about the Battle Combat Club is that it's all great, but they can all do their own thing separately at the same time, whereas Bullet Club Gold are at their best when they're a collective.
You know what I like about Bullet Club Gold is they remind me a lot of best parts of early DX. Just they're goofy, but they're also like guys who you want to see and guys who get it done. Completely has boosted the Guns and Juice Robinson to another level, and Jay White is great at the helm of that group. They're a solid runner-up because I do love them, but I gotta go BCC.
So does that mean the Guns are the New Age Outlaws, Juice Robinson's X-Pac, and Jay White's Triple H?
Yeah, exactly.
Huh. Well, we have already talked a lot of the wrestlers in the way that we're going to explain the next couple of words, because they are kind of backtracking and talking about like factoring in all that stuff and then coming back around to who are the best and the worst. Heels, baby faces, female wrestlers, male wrestlers, and overall wrestler. So we're going to focus on heel and babyface right now. Specifically heel, we'll go babyface next, but for all the reasons that we've said before, no reason to necessarily have to repeat a lot of the same things or whatever. Worst heel. Who you guys got?
Jack Perry. Did nothing for me.
QTV, for a lot of the reasons I've put forward beforehand. Just a pointless comedy act which isn't funny at all.
I have QTV as my option too. That's my my main pick for, again, a million different reasons. They're just, it's supposed to be funny. It's not. I don't take them seriously. I don't find it entertaining.
See, for me, the reason I go with QTV is because QTV died so quickly that I don't think about it.
Not quickly enough.
That's fair.
But I mean, take your pick with a lot of these people. Like, you could go with like Slim J. You could go with like, I mean, I'm sure that there's tons of people in like Ring of Honor that I don't even know, that if I watched them for like 2 minutes, I'd be like, yeah, I don't like this guy, or, you know. Also, shout out though, as much as they were a big focal point, that's part of the reason why they're so annoying, was the Outcasts. I had mentioned it before a million times that I just wasn't digging it. So definitely one of my least favorite heel acts this year. Still wasn't digging Aussie Open. It's not going to be the worst though. And again, like the long list of people that just pop up for a few matches here and there, heel faces, wrestlers, and all that. I'm not going to crap on like Marina Shafir this year, because it's not like she did anything that I really
I like what I saw of her. Put her, find wherever Ronda is and just stick Marina to the side, because like that was fun. I saw her have two matches this year and they were both great.
Yeah, it's not like she was doing the you know me, like from last year. But now, best heels. My runner-up is Samoa Joe, because I still gotta give it to Christian.
Callum, are you also doing Christian?
Yes, with my runner-up being MJF.
I will go with Christian, with my runner-up being Swerve Strickland. Christian's great.
Wait, so another threefer? Is that what we're going?
Yep. Christian's great. I don't see any reason to listen. We've talked about him a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when we get like certain years where I don't remember exactly what years or which, whatever, but we ended up with like Sami Zayn was like everybody went with Sami Zayn for last year, and like some years it's just kind of like, all right, we're all gonna go MJF. We're all gonna go, I don't know, John Morrison or something. No, not John Morrison, but you know what I mean. Like,
that's a weird one.
I'm a fan of John Morrison, but I can't remember that.
Did you say John Moxley?
No, for some reason John Morrison was the first name that popped in my mind. Probably because we were just talking about QTV. But yeah, big fan of John Morrison, but he never got that treatment yet. Sometimes it just ends up happening.
I think I'd be more likely to pick Jim Morrison as Wrestler of the Year than John Morrison.
Yeah, we've done like Roman Reigns, like we all pick whatever. And Christian Cage, it's one of his, he demands to be picked for a lot of these this year. That's for sure.
I gave him worst for one thing, and it's only because I think he looks great and he should show it off while he still has it.
Yeah. It's pretty good when your worst thing is you're covering up, and you shouldn't, rather than it being like worst promo of the year or worst, whatever it might be. Now, the babyface side of things, again, a lot of people that we've talked about before. Hardy Boys are in my mix. Isaiah Cassidy's on there for the same kind of thing. Fuego del Sol, Sunny Kiss. Lots of different people you can mention. But I'm going to repeat something we've been talking about. I think I'm going to go Ric Flair for the worst babyface.
I don't know how much of a babyface he is, but I think I'm gonna go MJF. I think he's just not meant to be a babyface. I'm glad that he's not doing full in character shtick all the time now, but he's just not meant to be a babyface.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with MJF as well as worst babyface. I think he's just gone too far and deep, and he's doing the same thing as a babyface as he did as a heel, which is go after the kind of the lowest common denominator stuff and feel like, well, that's no one else is doing that because it's too simple, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do better than anyone else. And that worked really well as a heel. It's not working as a babyface. He's too he cuts sometimes some really good or powerful promos as a babyface. Even did that as a heel every now and again. And if we saw more of that, I definitely wouldn't be doing it. But it's more the clap crowd stuff, the punch in the corner, the call and response, all that. Just it's so lame, Hulk Hogan 80s stuff. It's 2023. Come up with something original.
Sometimes it works. What was the match? Was it Big Bill where he really just was I'm gonna body slam him, and it works, but it's also annoying to me because it's only working because the crowd's we're in on the bit, yay, we're doing the bit with you.
The thing that I don't like the most about it is the fact that he's the world champion doing this.
That's true too.
See, I'll be honest and say I had MJF as one of my options for best. Recently, that hasn't been the thing, but at first, I was really, really digging it. It did get a little bit of an old act, and some of the things aren't landing quite as well. So he ended up being pushed aside in favor of some others. But on the best side of things, I have, again, stop me if it's your pick. One of my runner-ups is Eddie Kingston.
Strong runner-up for me.
One of my other runner-ups is Mark Briscoe. But I'm going to go Orange Cassidy. For all the reasons I keep talking about a million times.
I'm going to, I thought about Eddie Kingston because honestly, you can't deny the love that people feel for this man. He's a very organic babyface. I really want to go with Jon Moxley because he's the face of this company and continues to be that. But he did spend some of this year as a heel. I'm going to say babyface of the year. And maybe this is that pivotal moment where you kind of put all your chips in on this guy. Hangman Page. He's the definitive babyface of this company.
So, I mean, all the people you mentioned are great options in terms of just, Page is been a great babyface, but I think he's been underutilized this year. And Briscoe's he's got such a lovable backstory, and the same thing with Kingston just coming to the top of the mountain after so much hard work and graft to get there. I'm going with someone who I think is just organically one of the most beloved people in the entire roster, and that's Willow Nightingale.
She's a really good option for that. Yeah.
Like, nobody screams babyface in this company like Willow Nightingale screams babyface.
I love Willow Nightingale as much as you could possibly love a pro wrestler. Willow Nightingale is the best.
I don't think there's ever been someone who's more babyface in any wrestling company since Bailey than Willow Nightingale.
I was just going to say, if you didn't mention Bailey, like Willow Nightingale gives me Bailey vibes for sure.
Mm. So,
I love her. I hope she's
and give her a title next year. Give her the world title. Give her any title. Just like make her prominent next year.
Absolutely. I hope she's women's world champion.
We're going to talk about her very soon. Again. Because now our next category is the best and the worst female wrestler of the year. And I'm going to just roll with the punches. I'm going to say my pick for the overall, the value that I got out of their character and all that is Willow Nightingale for best.
For best, baby. Look, I think
for best female wrestler in general, because there's Statlander, there's Sheeta in the mix there and whatever. But I know a lot of people are going to go Toni Storm, but I like Willow Nightingale. I get why Toni Storm's in the position she's in, and I get why Willow Nightingale's working toward that. But there's one person that I think on the roster that is doing their job the best, and it's Willow Nightingale.
I agree with you 100%. Willow Nightingale is tremendous. However, much like Death Before Dishonor, there's only one person she takes backseat to, and that's Athena. Athena fucking carried Ring of Honor this year. Athena is the only damn reason to watch that show. Athena is going to headline Final Battle. Athena is the best women's wrestler across either company. It's Athena.
Not I will say, if I were watching Ring of Honor, I more than likely would be in agreement.
Yeah, Athena has been not just the main reason to watch Ring of Honor, but just from a pure in-ring standpoint, her character work is phenomenal. The in-ring stuff is great, as it always has been. And she's taken it back to the level she was prior to, when I thought that she'd lost a step because of all the injuries she suffered late in her run in WWE. She's now back to her absolute best. And she's working a much more physical, dominant style than she ever did in WWE, when she was always kind of just the underdog working from beneath because of just being a perennial babyface. Now that she gets to be a heel, she can just kick the shit out of people, and that's a lot of fun to watch. So yeah, Athena's top up there. Of course, there are other options. With one name we haven't mentioned that I think we should do as an honorable mention is Julia Hart.
Great improvement this year for Julia.
And is now a worthy TBS champion.
Mm-hmm.
And also, just from another Ring of Honor standpoint, Billie Starkz is going to be is a prodigy, and she's going to be a big star in the future, I think.
Possibly already the champion by the time people are listening to this.
I hope she is.
So now, with this best and the worst of the female wrestler and all that, we do circle back to wrestler of the year. If your best or worst for the female wrestler is your best or worst for the wrestler of the year, because it is male and female combined, then toss it out there too. My Willow Nightingale pick is not going to be my best overall AEW wrestler of the year. It's anybody's Athena and
no.
What was your pick, Callum?
Athena.
Athena. Are you guys going to go Athena as best overall, or
no?
Somebody on the male side.
It'll be a male wrestler, yeah.
So on the worst side of it, do you guys have anybody that carries over too, or is it just on the female side?
No, male wrestler's worst wrestler as well.
What about you, Rob?
Male wrestler's gonna be the worst wrestler.
Okay, so then worst female wrestler. There's so many to pick from.
Jesus fucking Christ!
It really is, because it's this was just not a good year for AEW's women's division. When the people at the top are doing what they're doing, it's not good. But what are some of the ones that stood out to you guys?
I only have 4 listed as potentially worst ones.
I was going to say, nobody really greatly offended you this year.
Yeah, the 4 that I have listed for worst, actually I've got 5. I missed one out, but 5 I've got are Saraya, just for like winning the world title, but not really wrestling that much. Ruby Soho for declining in the ring. Anna Jay for again declining, does in-ring stuff. Ty Valkyrie for not having a very good year whatsoever since like debuting, and then Britt Baker for declining in terms of popularity, presence, and being a crybaby on Twitter. I think out of all those ones, I'm probably going to go with Taya, just because I've never been a big fan of. Well, I say never been a big fan. I haven't been a big fan of Taya for several years now, and I just think that she doesn't add anything to being on AEW, and I think it's a good thing that she seems to now being cordoned off into the Ring of Honor side of things.
So, Britt is probably my best example of a downgrade, because I don't know what happened there. Huge. And this is entirely because of reasons not even related to this company, but I have to say it's Jade Cargill. She phoned it in until she finally dropped the TBS title to Statlander. And after, being built up by AEW as a homegrown, she's with WWE. I have to think that's their worst. In terms of stock they put into a women's wrestler, I think that's their worst result.
Can I do the cop-out answer and say the collective division?
Okay, no, but you can.
Oh yeah, well, not really, because that includes Willow Nightingale. Then, if you
that is true.
Oh, that's I get technically.
You can do this cop-out answer. Technically, Karen Jarrett and Aubrey Edwards wrestled a match.
Technically, Paige Van Zandt's still on the roster.
Technically, Paige Van Zandt's still on the roster,
even though I don't think she made a single appearance.
Not a single one, sir.
So I'll go with her.
22 or 23, I think.
I'll go with her then if I need to pick somebody, because it's like you don't even exist. Hopefully she's making a lot of.
I'm saying that for Megan Bain just because I know Sean reported she's signed, but I feel like that's cheeky.
That's more like if she's signed but she hasn't like committed, finished her commitments or something, like that's perfectly fine. That's like Will Ospreay not being ready to do that yet. But Paige Van Zandt, as far as I'm aware, she just she only does like OnlyFans or something now. So I mean, I don't blame her if that's the case. She's probably making bank on that. But like, I can't tell you anything what like a good variety of these people did this year, and to an extent, I have to admit, it is from my like fast forwarding a lot of segments and not watching certain shows and all. But like Riho popped up a couple times and just didn't really do much.
She's
not that like she did like bad stuff, but it was just kind of like
a rating is what she popped, buddy. A rating.
Like, what did Nyla Rose do this year? I can't tell you anything about Madison Rayne that would be on the positive side. Like, it's just, this was a dud year because it was basically 5 people, and those 5 people were like Toni Storm and Saraya and Britt Baker and all, which at their best, it was like, okay, this is okay. And at their worst, it was like, oh my God, can you just move on to somebody else? And then when you look around, you're like, there isn't anybody else. Oh my God, it's not a good year for the women's division. I hope that it is much, much better in 2024. So then that means that we have picked the male wrestler as our, potentially we could go, I mean, technically speaking, you could say somebody is the best or the worst male wrestler and then not give them the overall wrestler of the year, best or worst. Typically that ends up being the case, but I'll just toss this name out there because it's funny. I went with worst overall and for male. If you're talking value and purpose and any kind of positives, just give it to Trench.
Motherfucker, was he even employed at the start of the year? I don't remember seeing Trench.
He was.
That's crazy. I'm gonna have to look.
He definitely didn't wrestle though, so it's hard to know if you count him as a wrestler.
I'm gonna have to look up when they killed Trench. my worst, for a lot of the same reasons I just said Jade, gotta talk about CM Punk.
It's an option.
I mean, holy shit. First of all, good on him for having his final match be at Wembley Stadium with Samoa Joe and beating him with the Pepsi Plunge. Love to see that. But from an AEW perspective, for CM Punk and his involvement backstage at All In to now lead to what is definitely one half of the 2 WrestleMania main events, you gotta say CM Punk is the worst wrestler as a male for AEW, and I'm gonna go overall as well, because dude's about to headline your rival's biggest show of the year. You know? There's no benefit there.
Headline night 4 of buy one get one extravaganza.
1 month after sucking a blood
Right.
dick in Saudi Arabia.
I will say this, because I haven't said it yet. I do hope the one thing he can hold out on is not going to Saudi. But everything else, yeah, he's definitely headlining night 4 of buy one get one free extravaganza.
Sometimes grass is greener, I guess. I don't know. Who's your worst pick, Callum?
There are options. There's some dishonorable mentions, I guess. QT Marshall, Wardlow, Anthony Ogogo,
Yeah.
Action Andretti, Scorpio Sky. He came in for like 2 shows and then fucked off again. So he's injured again. But my worst I'm going to give to, and worst overall, is someone that I just want out of this company and clearly just isn't interested in, he's just interested in telling his own story, even though the story is just completely pointless and nonsensical, and that's Miro.
Oh. I was expecting Miro, but I guess I should have been. I'm
definitely not gonna give it to Punk, because Punk was fine, totally fine.
No, I was doing really the wee woo. I thought you were gonna go with Jeff Jarrett just because Jarrett.
That's like Jeff Jarrett still does stuff. Like you tell that even though I'm not too keen on what he's probably doing to the direction of the company, he's still he's showing up and doing the work. Like Miro just seemingly has locked himself into a really long-term contract that he doesn't want to be part of anymore. Like refuses to lose to people. He's just doing decided that he's just investing in his own passion project with CJ Perry and doing this weird nonsensical story that's at least just fully cordoned off on Collision. And yeah, everything that he had for the old Redeemer gimmick is gone. His promos are just completely nonsensical now about why is he not going after titles? Why is he not challenging more people? Why is he what is he actually doing? What is his purpose now beyond just making sure that CJ Perry can't manage anyone? Even though he's letting her manage someone. It's I just don't get, what is Miro in 2023?
There are a lot of other people that we can mention that are who is this person types. And then there are people that we've already...
Is a great option for that.
Well, even I couldn't tell you what Josh Woods even looks like, to be honest.
It's your fault. You don't watch Ring of Honor.
Right, but any of those types of people that just don't make a mark, or even the people that you are aware of, but they are just there to be total jobbers. I don't think anybody's really going to make a case for Pretty Peter Avalon being the best wrestler of the year or something. He's there to do a job. He does it. So if that's something that resonates with you well enough, then he skirts by. If you're oh, screw John Cruz and Serpentico or whatever, then, or Luther or something, not everybody's on the top of the card and whatever, and that is what it is. But take a pick with any of those kind of people too, if you want to. You could toss out Matt Hardy again. You could toss out Danhausen if you're not a big fan. I'm just not digging the character, so that is what it is. You could mention even Paul White if you wanted to. When we talk about the good, we talk about the good, you know what I mean? And when there's the bad stuff, it's not offensive to me that Captain Sean Dean's on the roster, but if he wasn't on the roster, I don't think it would make a difference to me as a fan, you know what I mean? I'm glad he's employed. not somebody I'm going to be watching.
I get that. That's the way I felt about a lot of these. Like, he's offensively bad, and Ric Flair hasn't had a match. I can't say him.
Yeah.
You know. That's why I went with Punk, because that had the overall negative the company.
That's why I went with Trench, because there's nothing positive with Trench. Now, the positive side of things, though, best male wrestler and / wrestler of the year for AEW. Shout outs to a lot of the people we had talked about and all. To me, it's down to 2 different people and one person standing out of the pack of just a little bit more in one way and one person standing out in just a little bit more in another way. It's hard for me to pick between these two because there are negatives for MJF that work against him. But there's a big part of me that says MJF should get this. And then there's another part of me that just goes, but how many things did you just give to Christian? I'm kind of debating between those two.
MJF's been champion for a year, and in the mind, you kind of feel like he should get this. He has wrestled more this year than ever before.
It's kind of like MJF should win it kayfabe.
But
you know?
But no one's been more enthralling to me on screen, despite a broken arm, a broken orbital, broken everything, and fucking Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson is my best male wrestler of the year, and he's my overall wrestler of the year. Bryan Danielson is stamping his legacy all over AEW, even behind the scenes, slapping fines on people, apparently, for social media behavior. This was a legacy year for Danielson, and I bought in.
I think it would be somewhat churlish, at least, not to mention Orange Cassidy for this year.
Yep, yeah. He's another major contender for that.
Just how great that title run was, and so he's been a huge part of a lot of positives for AEW this year. And then I've got loads of other names listed, like Kingston and Moxley, Page and Swerve, all doing great. I think obviously Danielson would be high up there as well, but like I think a good runner-up for me is Samoa Joe as well.
Yeah, Samoa Joe's been doing some good stuff.
Renaissance year for Samoa Joe in 2023. But another guy who's just having a renaissance year, and it's just the best year of his career, and this is the best run of his career. Like Christian Cage is my overall wrestler of the year. Just what a conniving heel character with just some of the best promo material. Like he's got a gimmick and a catchphrase, but it's not overbearing and it's not like too comedic or too over the top. You still have fun listening to him. He's unbelievably hateable. Everyone gets behind the people that he's facing. He's wrestled more this year than he had at any other point in his time at AEW so far. He's TNT champion. He's having a great run with the title. He's going to be in this big feud. He's in this big feud with Adam Copeland. Yeah, I think Christian Cage has just dominated AEW in the most positive way this year.
Very much appreciated Christian Cage this year for sure. Lots of awards going to him, more than probably anybody. If we end up doing like the, what they do like the Oscars, where it's like, oh, this got nominated for the most and won the most, and whatever. Probably collectively, Christian Cage got the most amount of awards from us on the positive side of things. Very cool. Would not have anticipated that a couple years ago. You know what I mean? Wild how the world of pro wrestling works.
Yeah, it's just everything about Christian Cage's run, and Danielson's for that matter. It's just like you wouldn't have seen this coming.
Well, what you can see coming is the WWE side of the end of the year awards. We will be breaking those down in the same capacity. Technical skills coming up first, then the writing awards, and then the performer awards. A couple more categories to WWE than AEW, because we do have like the best television show or program of the year. We didn't have that for AEW because it's basically the same exact types of shows, whereas WWE, they have like, things like the Ultimate Show and all. Oh, I guess technically we could have done that for AEW, but
the award would have gone to AEW with RJ City. It's the best piece of content they produce. I'm not kidding. That show is tremendous.
Oh yeah, if I was to give like just overall like guy of the year for AEW, it's RJC probably.
RJ City's amazing.
Guy of the year. He wins Guy of the Year.
Yeah, if we did anything for like the broadcast correspondence stuff like that, it's definitely he's so entertaining.
Well, we'll get into those with the World Wrestling Entertainment side, but All Elite Wrestling wrapped up here. Reminder, drop your thoughts in the comments below. Tell us what you agreed with, what you disagreed with, what your picks were, any other kind of opinions that you got on there, what we missed out on too, because maybe there's something you would be like, oh, you guys forgot about this storyline, or how could you guys forget that like this ring gear was like somebody wore this and it was hideous, or this was amazing, or positive, negative, whatever it might be. And if you are listening to this on YouTube, of course, double check that you hit that like button on here. Helps out quite a bit. If you are listening elsewhere, make a YouTube account and hit the like button. And stay tuned for all that stuff, but also hop on over to the Blue Brand and the Fanboys Anonymous content over on that site, fanboysanonymous.com. Pretty self-explanatory there. Subscribe to that YouTube channel, hit up that Patreon, check out the Facebook and Twitter and all that. Generally speaking, though, if you go to amangotree.com, you'll see a list of all these different things, and you should be liking, sharing, following, favorite, subscribing, whatever it might be. Subscribing, that's a word for all those things. Subscribing. Make sure you subscribe to all those. And as I mentioned before, go and fill out that fan feedback survey. Tell us what you think we could do better for this year, like say the word subscribe in a better way, or what we really kicked ass on this year that you really want to give us a shout out to. But follow me at Tony Mango on Facebook, Twitter, and elsewhere, like Letterboxd and whatnot stuff. AnthonyMango.com. It's the same list. Just hit the like button or whatever it is on all those things. And make sure that you're also following what Rob and Callum have.
Yep, you can follow me over at DeFelice. You can check out my work on Fightful. I appreciate any of the support that you guys give. So thanks as always, and here's Callum.
Yep, you can find me on Twitter at Wigmeister14. Check out the Power Rankings every Saturday on Smark Out Moment, where I rank the WWE superstars based on their previous week performances. And then you can also check out the Fantasy League there, or at wwefantasyleague.com, to see how our teams are performing as we keep heading through every single pay-per-view towards WrestleMania.
Okay, everybody. AEW Awards in the bag. Tell us what you thought, and make sure that you stay tuned for the WWE End of the Year Awards, because the Smarkies are not yet over. We will be breaking down the best and the worst of what Raw, SmackDown, NXT Level Up, pay-per-views, main event, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff is. And we hope to see you there. So make sure that you head on over to that side. But adios for now. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and we are being counted out.